Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's on-demand fulfillment webinar, next in our monthly series. I cannot believe we're halfway through 2024 and we're starting to pile these episodes on top of each other. But we're getting some really great turnout. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your day today. The goal of these webinars is to really try to create an environment of community where all of our clients or people who are maybe thinking about on demand and partnering with us to be a client. You can come on a monthly basis, just touch base with us, get any new information, and most importantly, just kind of share some best practices, identify some key pain points that we're seeing that are common with many of our clients as they strive to help to try to build their new businesses and try to generate some revenue. We know that there's some key challenges out there, so we're here to help as much as we can. The topic for today we're going to be talking about, this is one that I've kind of had my eyeball on since we started the concept of these webinars. Marketing. We know this is a key challenge for our clients. We know marketing in general is a tricky road. You can overspend, you can underspend, and it's really a vital part of what we're seeing in successful clients versus clients that struggle. So we're excited to dive into that a little bit deeper today. Again, thanks for taking some time out just to meet with us and follow our webinar. We're, by introduction, my name is Spencer Livingston. I know my hair looks a little bit different, but I've also lost 50 pounds since this picture. So, I mean, we probably should update that picture at some point, Daniel. But I'm the sales manager here at On Demand Fulfillment. I'm also joined today by our general manager, Daniel Lindsay. How's it going, Daniel?
Good. Glad to be here and excited for the message we got today. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, that's great. We have a couple other really special guests that we're going to be getting to here in just a minute. But before we do, wanted to just catch everybody up. If you haven't had a chance to view our the previous webinars in our series, they're available on our website. We'll send you out a link at the end of this webinar so you can catch up a little bit. But I wanted to just take 1 second today and catch everybody up. We're trying to build these webinars kind of on top of each other. First webinar that we rolled out, we talked about the importance of building your brand and how important it is to actually identify who your perfect customer is. Daniel gave us some really great, insightful information based on his experience on the importance of really spending some time and figuring out who's my customer. Seems like such a basic question, but Daniel actually walked through Thrive Her Wellness, gave us kind of an example type of an account, and we went through in that webinar and we took all the steps required to maybe make sure we're clearly identifying the customer that we're talking to. Do you remember that one, Daniel? You were amazing in that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yep, definitely a key point that a lot of people overlook, right? They get so busy into setting up their store, their listings, just getting things running. They don't take the time to really define the brand and who they're going to be selling to, which is a key step. So definitely revisit that. We'll have Nevada drop some links in the chat. If you don't see that, always just reach out to support. We can provide those as well. But definitely some great resources if you missed them, and they roll directly into what we're focused on today.
You know what, I have to say too, as I was researching the content for today's webinar, this exact topic came up over and over and over again. I was doing, searches what are the biggest mistakes people make, and all of it had to do with people just think they can launch a product out there without even knowing who they're talking to, and it's a common mistake. And it actually was very it was gratifying to see, okay, you know what, we're on the right track here. The things that we're talking about, experts in the industry also are saying the exact same thing. So we talked about finding the customer, building the perfect product for that customer, designing the perfect label with a perfect look and feel, specifically designed for that customer. And then we included a brand starting kit. So if you haven't had a chance to check out that webinar, please go do it. We've had some good action on it on our YouTube page. So a lot of people are taking advantage of that. We're grateful for that. And then the following week, last month, we talked about, okay, now that we've established this brand, how do we actually turn that brand into dollar amounts? And we talked about, simple marketing plans for new brands. We talked about the different platforms that are out there, what's best. And, Daniel talked about really the best overall method of building a long-term business. Take advantage of some of the platforms that are out there, but also, focus most of your effort on your core platform. And we see our clients succeeding at that every single day. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, please go download it or go check it out on YouTube. And then we even built a 3-week beginner social media content plan and some emphasis on consistency, connection, and clarity. Do you have any recollections from that one, Daniel?
No, just keeping in mind that, that initial plan we outlined was really, really basic and simple, to get some sort of direction and clarity of where you're heading, and just knowing that it's going to require continued evolution. And, this next phase that we're talking today is, I think, that next step of what to really start focusing on. But all those are just great stepping stones to get things rolling.
Awesome. Well, with that said, wanted to give a shout out. This one embarrasses Daniel every time, but I think for those of you, maybe this is your first time joining us on a webinar, Daniel, really, our general manager, he just really brings a wealth of experience into this conversation. He's seen it and done it before. He brings 12 years of experience in building e-commerce platforms, using businesses like Shopify, WooCommerce, Amazon, eBay, and some sales funnels. He started and scaled multiple 7-figure brands and negotiated several exits. So if you need a loan, they can just call you, right, Daniel? That's how it works.
I don't know if we want to be throwing that on here, but
fantastic. Let's see. He also has been a successful consulting role for multiple 8-figure brands. And then he is one of the founding members of On-Demand Fulfillment. So he knows the fulfillment side backwards and forwards. I've seen Daniel run out to the warehouse. He knows everybody out there. He knows exactly what they do. He knows how to fix any machine that goes down. I mean, this guy's a walking computer. So he brings a really great knowledge to our discussion here. We really appreciate you investing in this webinar series, Daniel. Thank you.
Well, yeah, of course.
I'm not just saying that because you're my boss. I'm just,
no, I keep you around. You're a good hype man. If I ever need to pick me up, I can just go talk to Spencer for a few minutes. It's a good place to be.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, today, without further ado, what we're going to be talking about right out of the gate is we are going to be talking about, in my opinion, based on my experience, the most important thing that you deal with as a brand new business owner. So my background, I didn't give myself a slide, but my background comes from, I was a VP of sales for a multi-million-dollar company in the crafting world, and I managed a huge budget, and I was tasked with spending, carving out marketing dollars and spending it correctly. And I'll be honest with you, like that's something that really, if you get it right, you'll succeed every time. But so many people don't, and it can really be the difference between your business succeeding or failing, especially when you're just starting out. I mean, your margin for error, I'm sure you guys all know this that are attending here today. Your margin for error as a brand new up and coming business is just razor thin when it comes to marketing. So we just thought we would take a couple minutes today and talk through some of the best practices that we've seen there. We're going to talk about the difference between spending just to spend. Everyone knows they need to be spending on marketing, but what's the difference between spending and investing? What are some of the big mistakes that we make, and what are the top things that you can avoid as you're getting started? We're going to talk about hiring agencies. There's a lot of people out there begging for your money from an agency standpoint, and which ones are worth it, which ones give you real ROI and can help you launch your business, especially when you're just getting started. And then introducing, we got a pro tip, we got a special guest on here. We have Bronson Sisam. Did I say your name right, Bronson? I'll be bringing you on in just a second. I want to make sure I'm representing you correctly.
Yeah, no, perfect. Happy to be here.
So Bronson is actually an on-demand account. He's been doing business with us really since the beginning of the year. And we're going to talk about him in just a minute, but he's done an amazing job at scaling his business with on-demand fulfillment, and really has some great tips that we're excited to share with all of our listeners today. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. Daniel, did you have any feedback on that, just on just marketing spend in general? Any thoughts that you've had in your experience when it comes to just marketing budgets?
I've spent, I've definitely spent a lot of money in places that I shouldn't have, versus investing them. So I think that's a critical area. It's easy to try to choose just sometimes the quick route and just, I'm spending money, like you said, and it's going to pan out. Definitely not always the case. It needs to be really hyper focused on where you're spending your dollars. So definitely just double down on confirming that point you said is a key aspect of being very particular about where you're spending your marketing dollars.
Yeah. Well, we all think that, and I found that in my experience as well. But as I was researching, I found this quote that says that that basically marketing has become the biggest contributing factors to why small businesses fail. In fact, this is according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, an article that just came out recently. 22% of failed businesses, 20% of people who don't make it, they attribute the fact that they were off on their marketing strategies. They spent their money elsewhere. I mean, that's a huge chunk. So I think it's something that we need to really pay attention to. You have to navigate very, very carefully in order to avoid, becoming one of those statistics. Is that what you've seen, Daniel, based on your experience? I mean, that's a huge chunk of new businesses that are failing. And starting new business is hard anyway, but
yeah,
would you say your experience is in line with that?
I mean, I've had a lot more failed businesses than successful ones. So I mean, my percentages are probably in there higher than that anyways, right? But yeah, definitely initially my marketing spend was very limited based off of experience and knowledge, and without implementing the full, I think we've talked about this maybe on previous webinars, but if I'm only focused on just the front end marketing, like whether that's on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever it is, if I'm not also doing the back end email marketing, that's sometimes the difference between a successful company and a failed company. So yeah, I definitely it's a big strategy, and it can be a lot to sometimes get in place, and we're hoping to help people avoid the mistakes that I've made and Bronson has made, and just help each other all grow and win at the same time.
Absolutely. And right along with that, I found this quote from a book that's required reading in the Wharton and the Harvard Business School. It's called What Sticks is the name of the books, and it says that Rex Briggs and Greg Stewart calculate that marketers waste 37% of their marketing investment due to misaligned messaging, ineffective channels, and overspending. I've seen this firsthand in my businesses. I've seen our marketing team they feel like they have this money and they got to use it somewhere, so they just go spend it with no real focus or target. But that's another shocking stat. 37% of their money is completely wasted, according to this Harvard business book. So as you can see here, more than 1 in 5 businesses attribute the reason for them failing is poor market execution. 1/3 of all marketing dollars are wasted. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it really is, this topic, it's scary because, some people don't do any marketing. They feel like they can get by without it. And some people do way too much marketing. And both of those are death nails in your business if you're not managing that carefully. Inefficiency in marketing is linked to strategy errors more than your budget size is. So it's not about budget size. It's not about spending as much as you can. That doesn't always give you the best result. Marketing efficiency is vital in small businesses and startups. We talked about that a little bit more. Your margin for error as a small business is razor thin. And even if you have a good product, if you fail to spend wisely on branding and messaging and audience, like we talked about before, right? It still can be fatal, right? So let's talk about agencies a little bit. This is a great little, don't mean to be too mean. I know there are some great marketing agencies out there, but here are the risks of hiring an agency too soon. Sometimes some people think, you know what, this isn't an area that I'm an expert in. I'm going to go join up with a marketing team and allow them to run my marketing for them. My experience, I'd love your thoughts on this, Daniel, but my experience is, I've dealt with marketing agencies out there that are really good at painting a great picture of all the amazing things they're going to do, and they'll take a lot of your money, like a lot. Sometimes it's, you know, I've spent $10 to $15,000 a month on marketing for my business, and sometimes I don't know that I really got. I got a bunch of really good feeling buzzwords out of it. They would have a report at the end of the month that said, hey, you know what, your engagement was amazing. I'm like, okay, but our sales are still down, right? You know, so it's something that I don't know if it's effectively managed, and I think some people may jump into it a little bit too early, right? So the risks are, you know, they sometimes will waste budget on generalized strategies. They may use generic template-based campaigns that don't fit your niche or your audience. Sometimes they try to just fit you in as a one-size-fits-all. You risk spending thousands of dollars before you even validate whether your product fits in that market or not. Sometimes the ROI timing, a lot of these agencies require 3 to 6 months to generate results, and sometimes that's just more of a runway than you have, especially when you're a startup company on very limited funds, which is really the majority of our clients, right? That's what's attractive about our model, is we don't require a lot up front, right? So inherently, a lot of our clients don't have huge marketing budgets right out of the gate. And then also, you know, there's premature scaling, right? They're not quite sure if we've fine-tuned our offer or tested our funnel, so they might be driving traffic into a leaky system. I thought that's a great way to put it, right? It doesn't matter if your system's not ready to accept that, then it doesn't much matter. So a lot of ways that you can waste your money there. Have you had any of those experiences, Daniel?
Yeah, definitely all of them. You know, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on agencies where I didn't make an ROI for sure. You know, and I think the agencies I've seen success with are those that have had experience in my niche, and more specifically are those that have also had success in like building and scaling their own brands. I don't know how much it is happening right now, but for several years there was a huge amount of agencies out there. Everywhere you turned, there's an agency trying to get you to sign up to do their, you know, do your Facebook marketing for you. And you know, sometimes it just seemed like, oh, that's an easy, like the easy button. I'll hire this agency, I'll throw some money at it, and they're going to solve my scaling problem. It never worked out like that. You know, it had to be the right agency that had the right niche understanding and background in the specific product I was selling. And like I said, they've had experience specifically in e-commerce themselves is also a critical aspect. Not always required, but it's the ones that I seem to personally resonate with well, were those that have actually seen both sides of it, so they can understand the entire operations more than just the Facebook ad side of things or the whatever marketing. And then on the premature scaling, definitely there's, you know, it limits what you can scale to. If you don't really fine tune your offer and they just want to ramp up ad spend, because certain agencies get paid on ad spend versus how much actual performance you're getting, they just want to get you spending as much as possible where you're semi-happy, even if your margins are like 5-10%, versus really taking the time to dial in that offer so you can make a 25-30% margin and even have way more room to grow and increase your, you know, your marketing spend per acquisition or per customer, which lets you actually beat out your customers because you can spend more than your customer. It's not your customers, your competitors, because you're going to have more money to market more than they do. So all these are super spot on, I think, and it's all about timing and when you figure out that that's best for your company and your brand.
Awesome. Thanks for that. You know, just a reminder to our attendees too, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A. We're going to have a little time at the end if we have extra time to just go over. So if you have any specific questions that you want to float out to the panel, please feel free to use that. Moving on, we don't want to be too mad. See, look, here's a nice little marketing agency, and he's holding a supplement bottle. See that? There are nice marketing agencies out there, and you know, we don't want to bag too much on the idea of partnering up with somebody, obviously. But you know, a couple things to consider when you're maybe ready to hire an agency. You want to make sure you have a validated product. You've gone through the steps that we've talked about in previous webinars to validate a product that actually points to real customers. You want to make sure you're doing the work there before you look out and reach out to partner with agencies. You want to make sure you have a clear understanding of who your ideal buyer is. We've spent some time discussing that in these webinars too, right? Proven conversion paths, landing pages, offers. You've done the work on the front end first, so that you basically hooking up your hose to a marketing agency, let them turn it on. You know that your system is is leak proof, and that you're gonna be as efficient as possible with that money that you're investing, right? And then this was a big one. That's a huge number. You have to make sure you have 5 to 10,000 a month that you can afford to risk, right? Yeah, that's a lot of money going out the door. That's a lot of your profit when you're starting your supplement company. Is your business at a point where you can risk that? Like, those are the things I think that you can think about before you're going to partner up with one of these larger marketing firms. Any comment there, Daniel?
No, I think the biggest thing is just, don't get scared by that number, a 5 to 10K a month marketing budget. The goal is that, you follow the other steps we've talked about, start figuring out what works, and you're still getting sales, making revenue, making profit, and building up that amount bank account, basically, so you feel comfortable with really scaling and you're ready for it.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, with that, we want to bring in Bronson, our friend. So Bronson's joining us today from the great state of Michigan. Am I right, Bronson? Where are you located at today?
Yeah, yep. Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's me.
Oh man, God's country up there. Thank you very much for taking time. This is Bronson. I wanted to throw some numbers up here just to give everybody an idea. Bronson is, like I said, an active account. It's really generous of him to take his time to just jump on and share some best practices with all you guys. He's in the same boat that you guys are in. He started his supplement business in earnest. He started about the beginning of the year, wouldn't you say, Bronson?
Yeah, no, that's about right, timeline wise.
And I'm not sure if you can see this. I'll see if I can highlight with my little note here. But he just passed the $300,000 sales mark. It's fantastic. You can see in November is right when things started to pick up for him. April and May were really steep growth months for him. And in June, these numbers right here are what we see. This is his wholesale invoices with on-demand fulfillment. So you can see he's just been scaling beautifully every single month, and he's doing it on relatively few SKUs, right? And I'll let you talk about that as much as you want, Bronson. But you can see here his overall sales numbers, about 10K in January. That jumped to 13, and then look at that jump from 13 to 40. That's a doubling in March. Huge jump again in April. And then I didn't update this slide I was going to, but he basically finished the last in June at around $120,000 in sales, and super impressed. In talking to Bronson, he's got a great strategy, and love to hear what are your thoughts about what we've kind of talked about up to now, Bronson? Do you have anything that you want to add to the conversation?
No, not exactly. I mean, I think there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to marketing. So, obviously we'll get into a lot of it right now, but people like to try and simplify it, especially, marketing agencies of, it's, say some cool keywords that kind of get you on board and try and make it seem simple, but there's a lot to it. So, we'll kind of get into it a little bit, and it all kind of goes hand in hand.
Awesome. Well, I think the big question on all of our minds and everybody in attendance here is like, okay, how did this guy do it? Like, how did you do it? So wanted to just turn some time over to you here, Bronson, and just kind of walk you through the steps. Like, what were your first things to do? Like, how did you get started in that January timeframe to really start to scale people up? I'd love to also know how you came across on-demand fulfillment. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So, I have a background in, online marketing essentially. So that's obviously played a pivotal role in me kind of learning and, adopting some strategy that I already know, applying them, and helping to scale my brand. But, had kind of a mutual connection scenario, and heard of ODF, and, the whole scenario of, white label and fulfillment. The process is very streamlined, very useful. And it's been a great relationship up to this point. So definitely can't complain at all. It's been great. And then, in terms of like this slide, marketing wise, one of the first steps and the most, budget friendly step when it comes to marketing is organic. So, for me, it was, TikTok and Instagram Reels is going to be kind of your two biggest organic platforms. And it's really as simple as, making a branded account for, your business name, and just making videos. You're talking about the product, the benefits, use case, all this stuff that's, basically free content to put out and push sales wherever you like. So if it's, your TikTok shop, great. If it's, your website, link in bio on Instagram, great. and you can, double down on, what works, really test, see what videos perform well. And again, it's basically free if you can make the content in-house. So a great place to start when it comes to marketing.
I feel like so did you just yourself grab your phone and just go start shooting TikTok videos? Is that basically what you did? Did you have somebody like that you knew that it was, or is that just something that you inherently knew how to do?
Yeah, so it's something that you can really just replicate what's already out there. There's plenty of, in this case, supplement brands who excel with organic content. And so it really comes down to, copying what the competition has done, kind of the formats, replicating what works for your own brand. And, still, being authentic, just kind of, you can tell your story, the ups and the downs. If you want to, really let people know and be relatable with the business, you can also just kind of talk about the product and the benefits. I did a little bit of both. And, it's a very affordable way to start marketing. And then, the bottom of the slide, you can see the affiliates portion. So, as you start to grow a bit, or if you wanted to launch with affiliates, then you can outsource some of that content creation and have people actually making videos with your product so that, you can do more volume without you having to be the one making the videos.
Wow, that's awesome. So did you go in like specifically with a platform in mind? Did you go in like specifically, hey, I'm going to do TikTok content, or did you just do content in general and then repurpose it on multiple platforms?
Yeah, so kind of both. I knew that I would need a website for sales eventually. And so I kind of had that being built out on the back end while I was pushing sales organically just by posting with the product on my TikTok. My TikTok was linked, to my TikTok shop, so people could purchase right on my shop. And yeah, that's kind of where I started. Obviously, TikTok is the biggest, fastest growing e-commerce platform in the world right now. So tons of attention there, and you really have the most virality, factor when it comes to videos on TikTok as well. So free engagement, really free sales if you can learn how to speak to your audience. So it's a great place to start.
Oh man, that's awesome. Man, I could bend here for a long time on these topics, but I appreciate your insight. Okay, so step one is the organic. That's basically free. Of course, it's a great place to start. And then once that strategy kind of starts to build out, step two, we move on to paid ads.
Yeah, yep. So, paid ads is where things get a little bit more complicated. There's a lot more moving pieces. Obviously, you're actually spending, your hard-earned money to hopefully bring back a positive ROI. So, there's a lot of methods, a lot of, marketing agencies who will say, again, they'll handle it and do great work for you. And sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's, more times than not, that's not the case, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, what I did, obviously, again, I have a background in marketing, in paid ads. And so I brought that experience to, launching this business. And, with TikTok, you can run paid ads. With Meta, you can run paid ads. The underlying strategy is the same, but, the route you take is a little bit different, right? If you're running TikTok ads, it's probably going to be directed to your TikTok shop storefront. And then if you're running Meta ads, it's going to be directed to your website. So the funnel, quote unquote, of where customers are going to actually purchase is a bit different. But, those systems, again, if you can, have a positive ROI and learn how to scale up, then there's really no limit to how far you can push the needle in a fairly quick timeline as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So were you able to generate the capital that you needed for your paid ads with your organic ads, or was there some point where you had to inject capital, you had to go kind of raise capital on the outside to bring in for marketing?
Sure. So you can take as aggressive as a route as you want when it comes to marketing. And there's tons of scenarios that can play out. Everyone's timeline's different. Maybe you're posting on TikTok and you have a viral video, the second post, like fantastic, good for you, but that won't be the case for everybody. So there's, each person's timeline is different. In my case, I was pushing, content on TikTok organically, and simultaneously, I was having my website built out. And so I started running some Facebook ads pretty soon after I started, with the organic TikToks. So they kind of went hand in hand. Now, if you're someone that just wants to be less aggressive because, again, you want to be more budget friendly, then, I mean, yeah, you can definitely just push organic content until you find an angle that works. Video goes viral. All of a sudden, you're cash flowing from sales. And then you can just take that cash that's new to the pipeline and reinvest it in, maybe it's affiliates, maybe it's paid ads. So less aggressive, less quote unquote risky strategy. So you can really take as aggressive of an approach as you'd want.
Oh, awesome. Sorry, Daniel, you probably have questions. I'm fascinated by this, but so did you have like a percentage of your business carved out that you like held tight to, like, okay, 20% of everything I make, I'm going to set aside for marketing, and it's something like that? Or was it more of just like, I feel it as I go?
So I wanted to be as aggressive as possible just to shorten my timeline of seeing, the revenue numbers that I was looking for. So I really just pushed the needle as quickly as possible. Again, this was my first venture in e-commerce myself. So, take that as the grain of salt. I was still learning and, failing and figuring things out. So it probably could have happened quicker if I, had someone to just kind of help me out. But still, the timeline was fairly quick to get to like the 6-figure a month mark. Yeah, I mean, it goes hand in hand. You kind of just figure it out as you go. So.
Wow. Right. Well, whatever you're doing, man, it's working. It's working. Okay. So, Daniel, chime in whenever you want to. I know I'm doing most of the talking, but I also, the time's going fast, so I want to make sure that we're try to stick within our guideline a little bit. We're a little bit long, but
no,
okay.
You're
So
good.
we
I
talked
said
about
one quick comment.
Sure.
I was just going to mention, you've been asking a lot of the same questions that are on my mind, so it's been great. But with one thing to keep in mind too for those that are listening is, with the on-demand model, you typically have a lot better cash flow than you may have with the typical model, right? If you were to have to buy 5,000 bottles of product before you even started launching, you're instantly invested much heavier versus you can spend the money on marketing, get the sales, and then pay us for our shipping and our product and that stuff after you've only gotten the sales. So, that also helps that timeline too, if you're a little bit more limited or needing to be conservative on the cash flow. So that's a key point to where you can repurpose those profits into marketing versus having to worry about, oh, okay, if I want to grow next month, I have to double my inventory orders and there goes all my profit, right? You can just focus on doubling your marketing spend. It's a huge benefit to the on-demand model. Just want to, shameless plug since it's our webinar here.
It's a really good point. No, it's a good point. Yeah, that part of growing a business is having to pony up for the inventory on the front end, and that's a piece that we just literally take straight away from you, and it's a huge advantage. I appreciate bringing that up. Okay, Bron, so talk about the free content. We talked about now paying ads, and then your phase 3 then would be you attack with your email campaign. Is that how that works?
Yep. So, I kind of skipped over the Google ads portion, and so we can briefly touch on that. So when you launch paid ads, my strategy was social media ads to start, get all of that engagement, and then layer on Google ads kind of down the line. Google ads and email are really for the low-hanging fruit. So, with a simple Google ad search campaign, it might be brand related. That's just people who see your social media ads. And then you want to legitimize your business one step further. So then they go on Google, type in your brand name, go to your website and purchase that way. So that's kind of where Google ads come in as a, kind of bottom of funnel, low hanging fruit. And then it's kind of the same with email. So email, the way that I capture emails and utilize email marketing is on my website, right? So email is not something you really need to worry about with like TikTok Shop. They have their own, native tool for retargeting and stuff. So email is for your website. But the way that I do it and the way a lot of companies do it's a bit of the standard now is just with an email pop-up, right? So I use Klaviyo, and there's a pop-up. Someone goes to your website. I'm sure everyone's seen this. It says, hey, enjoy 10% off for your first purchase. Put in your email and phone number, and probably at least 75% of people who purchase on my site at least will do that, just for the extra discount, right? It's super easy to do. So people get a little discount. They're incentivized to put in their information, and then you can just use that information to continually target those people with email campaigns. So, sending out sales, new product launches, whatever it is. I think I probably send out a couple emails, a couple texts a week, just kind of touching base with people, keeping it real, relatable, a good relationship with past customers, people who've opted in and not become customers. Then you can kind of drip on them and motivate them to actually purchase. So it's a great way to convert people who showed a level of interest into actual sales, and then also increase your LTV, so lifetime value of one-time customers, by continually giving them incentives to purchase again.
Amazing. Amazing. In my background, we used to do trade shows back in the day, and we would go, and a lot of times we would actually sell live product at a trade show. And so somebody on our team would have to be in charge of, managing the cash flow. You have to carry the box around. You have to take a zipper with all the cash in. And I remember my boss, the president of our company, coming up and saying, "Listen, guys, we also collected all of our, we would use that venue to collect information similar to what you're doing there, collecting your customers' information, right?" And I remember one day he's like, "Listen, if something bad happens and you can only grab our bag of contacts, or bag of account information that we've collected, or you can grab the cash bag. You have to choose between one of those. Leave the cash behind, like grab the customer base. That is more valuable to our business long term than whatever cash is in that box right now." And then that was a moment, a learning moment for me. And it sounds like that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Like that's a very valuable piece of information to grab it, to pull out.
Yeah. And people also don't realize, it touches on that in the bottom of that image there, is that the margins on email and SMS sales is dramatically higher than like paid ads. So you're going to get a lot of your new customers from paid ads once you implement them. And, your margins might be, we'll say 20-30% is fairly standard, especially at launch. But, with email, it might be, 50, 60, 70%, because
Wow.
You're not paying, we'll say you're paying $20 an order to generate that sale from your Facebook ads. You're paying probably, 20 cents to send them that email that then converts them into buying again. So all of a sudden you spent 20 cents for them to buy your $50 product instead of the 25 that you spent to get them to purchase the first time. So as you grow that list, it becomes more and more lucrative because the actual margins are so much healthier.
Amazing.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add to that too is, those pop-ups can be a great testing ground to see what it takes to really convince somebody to buy your product. And this is going to change based off of who your demographic is, who that ideal customer is, what intrigues them. You could do a buy one, get one free deal. You could do a buy one, get one 50% off deal. But I'm glad Bronson touched on it, that you can get really aggressive on how much you spend on the initial acquisition of the customer, because supplements are consumable and you need to buy them every month to keep using them, right? Or you drop a new product line. That's a whole new avenue of revenue for your existing list of email customers. And it doesn't cost you hardly anything to sell to them. And so once you know your numbers and start getting sales, you can realize, hey, I can spend $50 on the front end to convert a customer, even though the average initial order value is only $40 maybe. I know over the first 6 months of a customer's life, I'm averaging $200, $250, whatever that is. You can spend a lot more upfront to acquire the customer because of the type of products we're selling, the ability to add more product lines, and being able to basically resell to them for no cost, right? So glad you touched on that. People really often miss out on how valuable that truly is. And in a year or two of building the brand, like your email list and your existing base is where almost all, maybe I don't know about all, but a huge portion of the company's value really lies. If you're going to go sell your company to someone, they want to see how much your existing customer base keeps buying from you, how much they are loyal to you and keep staying with your brand versus bouncing around. So definitely don't take that lightly, and use those pop-ups, those emails, to test what's working to get people to buy.
Awesome. That's such good advice. So this is your timeline that ties all that together, Bronson?
Yep. So just simple timeline. You have your organic, social media ads, email kind of rolls into that once you have your website built up, and then you can continually churn out again higher LTV with using those emails. And affiliates. We briefly touched on affiliates, but adding TikTok shop affiliates is a big method that I preach, because that's what I've used. It's been extremely lucrative for me. So adding some affiliates, kind of having them offloading some of the marketing and video creation to other people who can then market for you. And then you have your Google ads. Like I said, is typically something you layer for that low hanging fruit, and then basically just double down on what works. So for me, affiliates with TikTok was a kind of my key method that worked really well. And so I've doubled down on that. And then obviously paid ads has been great for me too. So just working on, pushing the needle, increasing ad spend budgets on TikTok and Meta.
Man, well, it's amazing, and it's awesome to see your theory, right? Your model that you've laid out for us all here. We have real data that shows how effective this model is. I mean, it literally is something that if we could duplicate with every single one of our clients, like everybody's business would explode. And it's part of the reason why we wanted to have you on the webinar today, is because we're so impressed with the model that we've seen from you. We just wanted to, use this as a platform to share best practices with all of our other clients. But for those of you guys who aren't aware, Bronson is an amazing resource, and actually he's starting up as brilliant people have multiple channels of revenue, multiple businesses going at once. In addition to Bronson's supplement business that he's running, he's just looking to actually launch this mentorship program. I wanted to give you a little bit of a platform here, Bronson. You could maybe tell the attendees and some of the listeners about some of those services that you offer there too.
Sure. So this is kind of my shameless plug time. But yeah, the mentorship is something that I think is, valuable. I basically offer what I would have wanted when I started, just to, expedite my timeline to seeing larger numbers. And so, obviously there's a bunch of video module content that it really walks you through A to Z, kind of what I've done, mistakes I've made, kind of how you can, just utilize the strategies I use to, scale up your store as efficiently and effectively as possible. We do 3 Zoom calls a week. Obviously you can text me whenever. And there's just, there's a lot of value I try and give just to help people, again, kind of just shrink their timeline to seeing the results they want to see. I know there's a lot with the paid ads, with, social media marketing, with organic, with finding affiliates. Like there's just a lot that goes on in marketing that I've slowly accumulated knowledge on to figure out. So yeah, that's kind of my shameless plug.
Well, listen, man, I've been doing this for a little bit now, and I can tell you every new account that I talk to, all of them have this question. And I've been looking, since I've been at On-Demand Fulfillment, I've kind of been looking around at the different marketing options that are out there, and it's tough to find one that's custom fit for our particular client, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of the reasons we've already talked about today, right? There's some people that are just like huge, they're just way too big, and there's some people that are just way too small. And I think the service that you're offering here is the ability to just take one of our clients' hand, by the hand, one-on-one, say, hey, this is exactly what I did. It works. Just jump on and do it with me. It's a huge value. And I think for those who get in with Bronson early, I think he's going to be unavailable pretty fast because I don't know if he's going to be swamped with clients. But it really is a great option if you're out there looking for ways to just get a little guidance with marketing. Please give Bronson a call. We'll put all his information at the end of this, and it's right here on there. Is that the best way for them to get a hold of you, Bronson? Is to shoot you an email?
Yeah, email works. You can even text me to that number. So I'm usually available. So yeah, either of those is perfectly fine with me.
Well, man, listen, thank you again. I know you've had, you're dealing with some stuff out there. We appreciate you making yourself available for this, and I think we all have benefited a little bit. I'm at this point, not to side talk, but I just turned 50. I had my 50th birthday over the weekend, and I've had to come to grips with being surrounded by people that are a lot younger than me and a lot smarter than me. Great example of our panelists here today. Like, I've checked my pride at the door, but I think you guys both bring such a wealth of knowledge that it's exactly in the skill set that our customers need. So appreciate you carving out today.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions coming through, actually, Spencer.
Oh, great, Daniel, thanks.
I think we would want to get, I think they're wanting Bronson's input on. Mike, who's been a long time client of On-Demand, has just made a comment of how he's used 3 different agencies for Amazon specifically, it sounds like, and he had some tough luck there with Amazon. It was just back when you're talking about the agencies, and he ended up figuring it out himself. But then there's another question from John B asking about Amazon. I think he's maybe asking you specifically, Bronson, if you have had any experience on Amazon or not yet, or kind of what your thoughts are on the Amazon platform for supplements.
Yeah, so Amazon is definitely the pinnacle of where the trust lies with consumers just buying stuff in general, and it also holds the most weight when you come to exit. So if you have a very established Amazon listing with reviews, all this stuff that comes with having an established brand. That's a huge piece to, focus on and build for, one, just the revenue aspect, and then two, the value that, again, it brings to the, baseline of you actually exiting one day. So it's very important. I think it's something that I'm focused on now, actually adding my product to Amazon. One thing about Amazon is that you want to have a level of credibility and a level of awareness, when you launch, so that your listing doesn't just sit there and, have no sales for 6 months while you're, focused on building and figuring things out. It's crucial to, launch your product and have systems in place to drive traffic to that listing quickly. And then Amazon gives you a lot of priority to scale your actual listing. So that's kind of the logic I've taken to it. I'm working on getting my hero product on Amazon right now. Been jumping through a few hoops that were self-inflicted. Again, learning curve that's I would be happy to help people with if they have other questions. But yeah, Amazon is a huge place to take advantage of when the time is right.
No, I agree fully on what you said about having the credibility and presence online first, because otherwise you're going to be spending outrageous amounts of money typically to try to get ranking on top pages, right? Of a lot of different strategies. And sometimes it's as simple, once you have it standardized where, okay, I can send X number of orders to Shopify consistently. Hey, I'm going to push those over to Amazon for a while to get those sales from outside sources. That could be a lever you pull. Hey, I got an email list of 4,000 customers. I'm going to give them all a big discount or something, but they have to go buy from Amazon to get that spike of sales right when I drop the product, get that initial traction. Yeah, it's definitely a big aspect of it. Also, what I've seen personally is you can be running days of really high ad spend, 10, 15, 20 grand a day on Facebook, and you're sending them all to your website. But those same days, you'll definitely, if you're on Amazon and eBay, you'll see spikes on sales on all the platforms, because a lot of people will go to the platform that they trust the most and where they already have their card on file and just check out there, assuming you have the product there and have the listing there. So it's sometimes a level of trust where your product's on Amazon and that makes it legitimate. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. We know there's scammers and fraud and bad product on there, but people overall know, hey, I can get my money back here if something goes wrong. So Amazon is definitely a key point, but I really, really like Bronson's approach of doing your own platform, your own website first, building that list, building the customer list, that's the actual asset, and then working on transitioning and growing and expanding upon Amazon down the line. And then the last other question, before we move on and wrap it up, there's a few more actually. Let's see. So Heidi asked, there's with trying to attract affiliates on TikTok and utilizing that method, did you have to put a lot of budget into shipping the affiliates these products? Because that can add up pretty quick if you're just sending affiliates a ton of products and hoping that they actually follow through with promoting it versus the ones that just get free product and never do anything with it.
Yep. So I definitely, there's a method to the madness that I use. I kind of have my own strategy to get in contact with affiliates. TikTok affiliates, again, in my opinion, are the most lucrative because of just the content volume they can put out with your product. Cost can vary, but I think just in terms of step one, getting an actual response, a lot of people will just send like mass messages and emails to creators. You have a 1% open rate, and then they just want a free sample. So you end up spending a few $100 probably minimum, sending out a bunch of free samples, and then no one makes any videos with the actual product. So that's never a good feeling. So what I did was I went kind of the more manual route. I simply, when I started, and I didn't really have someone hired or anything to do outreach for me, I just messaged people on TikTok myself. So it might be 20, 30 minutes, here and there that you find yourself scrolling anyway on like a TikTok. Every third video is a affiliate, shilling some product of, anything, like really any product. And you just find someone that you like their style. Maybe they're making, certain, content style, or their storytelling. Maybe they're, they do skits and it resonates with the product you're selling. I just had a simple little outreach method, and that was basically a message that I would keep in my notes. I would just copy it. If I found someone I liked, I would just go to them, direct message them on TikTok, paste in my little message, send to them. And the open rate is probably 50, 60%, much, much higher. And so that's what I did. And then from there, you can negotiate. Maybe they want $200 flat fee for the month to post, 20 times, or maybe they want 30-40% commission instead of like the standard 10%. So you can negotiate kind of payment terms. And then lastly, I recommend having them sign a contract, just a simple, you could use a DocuSign, whatever, and just so that they have some level of accountability to actually post, just so that you don't pay them and they run off with your money. So little contract is good. And even if you don't want to do contracts, it's also very well known in the TikTok affiliate space that you get paid after you post. So if someone's demanding, pay me $500 this month, then I'll start posting, that's probably someone who has not a lot of experience, because again, in the TikTok landscape, it's pretty much well known that affiliates post their videos, meet the threshold, and then you pay them afterwards. So that's another way to, just navigate the risk factor.
Okay. Yeah, those are some really, really good nuggets there. I've known the overall kind of process on TikTok, but I've been a bit removed from the actual direct e-commerce marketing ever since the TikTok, really started to get it going. But that's some really good insight, and hopefully that's valuable to others. And this is the first I've heard of people paying flat fees for posting. I know some of our other really large brands that have been able to scale on TikTok have gone purely the commission route, and they get sometimes really, really aggressive, where they're up to like 40-50% sometimes on the commissions to get the right people. On this, a follow-up on that one, Bronson, with one thing about TikTok is I feel like it's almost all primarily micro influencers, right? They're all like really small following. Do you think that's partially why you can get such a high open rate versus trying to and is that who you go after typically, is like the micro influencer versus going out after any of the real big people with big following?
Yeah, it's pretty tailorable to your budget, kind of, what approach you want to take. Like when I started, you can really go at the micro influencers. And a lot of times they're not even influencers, they're just affiliates, and their whole page is designed to be an affiliate for brands. So it's the following count is very misleading. Nowadays you can purchase TikTok accounts. So it might be a 15-year-old kid who literally just makes, affiliate videos for brands, and that's, his job. And, he might have an account that says 50K followers, but in reality, there's marketplaces to purchase accounts with that threshold so that you're eligible to actually make affiliate videos for companies. So you kind of have to read through the lines a little bit. But micro is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. And then, for the really large brands, you could always find someone larger, but I don't think it's necessary at all.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it kind of goes back to what you mentioned on the very first slide, talking about post as much as possible. I think for the average person, it's kind of intimidating. Obviously, you have a marketing background and whatnot, so it's less intimidating to go do that. I think for a lot of our clients, that becomes intimidating. So if their avenue feels more comfortable going and working with a bunch of content creators or affiliates and having them create a bunch of content and posts, they can follow that same method almost and learn what's working really well, what style of posts, what storytelling, and you can ask those creators to create different styles. But it goes back to posting a ton, getting out there a ton, and then just doubling down on what's working, right?
No, exactly.
Sure. Holy cow, Heidi, that's a really fantastic question. I think I'm sitting here scribbling down notes. Like I feel like we could do an entire webinar on just exactly the things that we're talking about right here. I know we're way over time, but I think we'll go ahead and call it right there, Daniel, with the questions. I just want to go over, quickly summarize kind of what we talked about. Just talk about ways to avoid wasteful spending. Don't overpay for branding or packaging. Make sure you're investing. You're not just spending because you feel like you need to spend. Track your ROI. Focus on growth and profit. Obviously, start small, think big. Right? $500 can go a long way if you have the right tactics and tools in place. As Bronson mentioned, start with organic. It's a great place to do it. It's free. You can just go do it mostly on your own, and you can actually get some really, really good results and start to build that capital that you're maybe going to need for the second stage, which is ad spends, and then of course into emails. It's a really great model, Bronson, and we really appreciate you, Bronson, just joining us and sharing your story a little bit, and excited about your new venture into just your mentorship and helping some people who really, really desperately need the expertise that you have there. It was cool. It's been great to watch you scale. I'm excited to see you continue to scale. I mean, I feel like you still have some levers that you can pull with your business with on-demand fulfillment that we can scale up, even more. Really grateful for your partnership, and it's fun to watch you grow the business. My favorite part of the job is watching people exactly like you, Bronson, come in, and in 6 months they're selling 6 figures, and it started as a side hustle and turns into their main hustle. And it's pretty cool to watch. So I'm going to go ahead and call it right there. Daniel, I had a couple other slides, but that was just finish on Q&A, but I think we're over time. Stay tuned for our next webinar next month. Obviously, we're still dialing in exactly what those topics are going to be, but I think the feedback on this webinar is going to help us craft the next month's webinar, make sure that we're trying to hit on pieces that are really relevant to all of our clients out there. Daniel, do you have any closing remarks that you want to share with the group?
No, just appreciate Bronson and his time and sharing, being willing to share his knowledge and information for free. Obviously we let him pitch his mentorship, which he also thinks an opportunity for value, for a good value option for some of the clients who are ready for it. But I think there's a lot of great information here for those to re-listen to the recording and really just focus on that. And the last thing I just was thinking of the whole time is, what Bronson said initially is marketing is a pretty complex process with a lot of pieces, but trying to break it down piece by piece like we're doing, we're trying to help simplify that a little bit so that you can better understand it. And I think Bronson may correct me if he has a different opinion, but I think it's just a matter of consistency and going after it for a long time. It's not just overnight. You don't just post 5 videos and have a viral one. You may post 50 videos and have a viral one that finally takes off, right? So you just have to have that determination and keep pushing and not be afraid to fail. Like I said earlier, I've had way more of my businesses fail in the past than the few that have been really, really successful. But you learn a ton from the failures, and you just got to double down on what's working, and eventually you understand the whole picture and you make it work. So everyone just keep pushing, and we're happy that those of you who are attending and are here learning and wanting to grow it, and we're happy to be a part of that journey with all of you.
Exactly. Bronson, you have any closing remarks?
Oh, no, I don't think so. It was fun. I think there's a lot going on. Obviously, my journey with ODF has been fantastic, so I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, I'm excited to continue to follow the webinar series and see what other sauce of marketing and kind of the back end systems you guys keep giving out. So it's been great.
Sounds great, man. Well, we really appreciate it. Also for any attendees on the webinar that maybe they're not part of the on-demand family yet, please, we'll send out a follow-up email to this webinar. We'll include Bronson's information on there just so you'll have it in case you're interested in his services. And then we'll also, please feel free to reach out to the on-demand sales team. We're pretty busy right now. We're onboarding a lot of new clients, a lot of people loving the model here. So we have some pretty nice growth projections of our own in front of us. So really grateful for everybody's time today. That's all that we have, but thank you very much for joining us.